Show. We're talking County Commission, and County Commissioner John Henry is with us. And had your meeting yesterday, and last Friday you had a budget meeting. So
we did, yeah.
Looking ahead to the new year and to the new budget, with the price of oil where it is, I know that the county is very frugal in their guesstimate of what the price of oil is, because that affects what you anticipate for revenues.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, we all know what the price of oil has been the last few months.
Absolutely.
What did the county settle on, and how are you projecting things out for the upcoming budget year?
I need to go back, because all we talked about was year end, right? Because our year just ended. So that's kind of what we were doing. I know last year we were at like a $50 barrel. They did push it this year a little bit more. I can't remember the exact barrel price we came to. I say it a million times, having someone like Al Davis and Roberta kind of controlling that, who understand the oil industry, understand price, especially Al. I mean, he worked in it forever. So we try to be very conservative, but conservatively aggressive, if that makes sense. I mean, we want our budgets to try to hit every time. Our budget this last year hit on all our budgeted items. Obviously, revenue didn't hit because we were in the 50s, and most of the time oil was well above that price barrel. Plus the volume that we were receiving was insane, the barrels going through. So I can't remember. I can't remember. I've got to get that. I'll get that.
But it's not $100.
Not $100. No. No, we still stayed very conservative, but I think we're going to see a higher barrel price this year across the board on average. And but I think we're still going to be very, very safe. I know we're going to be very, very safe, because we would never. Whereas sometimes you see the state might push that barrel quite a bit. We've always stayed very conservative, and we always have a surplus at the end of the year, because between the departments doing a good job of not. And I think that goes back to, you always hear, oh, well, if they budget it, if you don't spend it, they won't give it back. But that's never been a policy there. It hasn't been a policy in a while in the county. I can't say it's never been. If you don't spend it, that's okay. If you need it next year, let's make sure it's there. But let's not spend money to spend money either. And hopefully that's the policy of most government agencies. I don't think that is. Most practices, especially when the higher up you get, spend it all, because they won't give it to us next year, because they'll be looking for cuts. And that's never been ours. So between letting the departments have what they need and making sure they have what they need year over year, not wasting. So they've always done a good job of not having to spend all their money. We've always seemed to at least hit our target or exceed what our expectations are on the price. So yeah, when you've got a Roberta and an Al, our job's a lot easier, because they make sure that's right on the money.
Yeah. So looking ahead then, with the budget and the revenues and the surpluses that were there, is this a time that the commission can look and say, okay, there were some things we didn't do within the different departments, or there are some things we didn't buy?
Right.
Are there some one-time or some one-off things that the county commission then kind of looks back and says, well, now that we've got this surplus, your department said you needed an X. We've got some money for it. If you'll put in a request for it, we can help you.
Yeah, this last year we tried to be, mainly because we saw what was going on, we tried to be really helpful to anyone that needed something. Let's get it done. Let's get it going. Let's not wait. So I don't know that we're going to have to go back and catch up on a lot. I know vehicles are a thing. That's another thing that we found very interesting yesterday, and most folks are dealing with it. If you're dealing with any kind of big trucks, big machinery out there, they were saying if we were to order a new truck right now, the chassis aren't even going to be built until like 2023 or 24, so you're not going to receive it so you're 3-4 years out. So that is becoming an issue with a lot of the city, the county. We can order police cars are the easiest one, because we order those on a regular basis, because you've got to continuously rotate that fleet. Well, all of a sudden they weren't coming in, so we're having to carry them over. So you do see a lot of that. It's not because we didn't buy them, it's because we can't get them. And so you're seeing a little hang up there, and some, hey, let's go get, and you can't. So some of the heavy equipment we've got ordered has been back ordered for a long time. So it's not we didn't buy it, we're just waiting for it at this point. Going forward, yes, with all this surplus, we've talked a lot. The county's we're going to have some real hard discussions, not in a negative way, but we're going to we've got some things that have to be done. We're gonna have the money to start putting some stuff aside to get start on these projects, but they're gonna be interesting decisions. We're gonna have some hard discussions, making sure we're going in the right direction, and they have to be one time. Because this isn't a reoccurring money. Folks forget that sometimes of, oh, well, look, we've got all this money. Let's go hire a bunch of people. Okay, well, you can't do that because now that's a reoccurring cost. And when this money dwindles, what happens? And so they need to be one-time expenses. Is that new buildings? Is that new, what is that going to be? I mean, we've had this courthouse discussion for a long time on it's growing. We're getting another judge. Right now we're doing huge renovations to it to try to accommodate another courtroom. I mean, we've got a lot of things happening, and we're going to have to make these decisions on, well, what's the next step? How do we continue to grow properly in the community and in the county? And what does it look like? So yeah, with these overages, I think in the past it's been pretty simple. It's roads, it's roads, it's roads, and that's not gonna change. I mean, we have put, and I know still folks put out there, our roads are terrible. I would be careful saying that. Go drive our roads. I think, have we hit them all? No. And you heard Jason last week, some like 800 miles of roads. I mean, we've got a ton of roads. They're not all perfect, and we fully understand that, and we're trying to get to them all. But we have got hundreds and hundreds of miles roads redone, looking good and in good shape. So I'm very proud of what we've got accomplished, and we still have lots to do. It's fun to be a part of a group that's got the foot on the gas as fast as they can and helping citizens, and that's the goal. We're not we're not making government bigger. We're putting the money where it needs to go, and it's been roads. And that's not going to stop. There are some other things, infrastructure is something important, buildings, things like that we need to make sure are sound when you can.
Well, sometimes people look at a state road, which is terrible.
Right.
And our roads are terrible. Well, that's a state road. And I know it's an excuse, but it is a reality. City roads are the same thing. Cities are responsible for their roads that aren't state roads. But you get outside the cities and off the state highways. The county roads is what the county's responsible for. In doing that. I know there's been the talks of the courthouse. You mentioned that. I think the jail is another
one.
Project.
Yeah, that's another one we've got to start figuring out. Obviously, with the county growing, the hotel has to get bigger, right? And so what do we do? The way it's designed now, you're kind of locked. It's landlocked. There's not much you can't go up, can't do anything else. So what do we do with that? Don't everyone start sending me emails that we don't know where we're going with it, but we got to make these decisions. I mean, things are going to have to change because they can't stay the same. We can't house, at some point we won't be able to house the load that we have, especially, like I continuously say, we're growing. People need to be excited at what's happening in Eddy County and in both cities, but we've got to make sure we're prepared for it. I don't want to be in 5 years all of a sudden, oh, well, if we would have prepared, we'd be okay, but we kicked the can down the road. You can't. We cannot kick the can.
Start coming up with some
We've got
ideas.
to start having solutions now for later, and then make sure those solutions can grow. I think that's the most important thing, is hopefully all the decisions we make now, we put it in a situation to where if in 10 years, 15 years, something else has to change, we haven't landlocked something, and we've put plans in place to where you could grow this way, this is how, and try to think long term, and not strap somebody later with having to make these kinds of moves.
Like the current commission is having to look at with the current situation. You mentioned hotel. You used the word hotel to describe it. I hear there's going to be a shortage of chocolate, so some of the prisoners may not get their little candies on their pillows at night.
That'll be tough. So we'll do what we can, though.
Water, I know, is another huge issue, and of course, one of the biggest facilities that's in the county is Brantley Lake, and of course the obligations to the Carlsbad Irrigation District in Texas. What are you hearing from folks about Brantley Lake and the water and the drought situation? Not that there's anything really that the county can do, but are there some things that you're hearing that the county is hearing about the water situation?
Not that we've talked about it in a lot of meetings. It's funny you mentioned water. That's another thing we kind of discussed yesterday. It's not about Brantley, but out on our shooting range, there's 3 water wells, old. They're like 1940s, 50s water wells, and we're plugging them. and people, we started, Commissioner McCutcheon started the conversation of, hey, why are we plugging water wells? That's a bad idea. Well, turns out it's a really good idea for these because they're leaking, and we want to make sure that those artesian wells stay strong, stay pressurized, everything else. So after looking at it all, it makes sense to plug those to protect the water. So we are always having these discussions of, hey, we need to make sure our water system is correct and everything's moving along. So with the partners we have, kind of helping guide us, because we're not necessarily well experts or water experts, and going back to Al Davis, these are like 800-foot wells, water wells, right? And I know I was there when my dad drilled ours, and ours was really deep at a couple hundred feet, and that's a deep well. I said, that's not very deep. So what are you talking about? And then I'm thinking, oh, well, you're drilling miles when you were. So yes, for oil and gas, that's not very deep. But for a water well, those are pretty deep wells. And
Yeah.
But it was a good discussion because we are always conscious of how do we make sure we protect the valleys, water, the artesian wells, and everything else. So
Yeah, because that's an issue, and it doesn't look like the drought's going to be ending anytime soon. And it's been very, very hot, and
Yeah.
they've had a little bit of rain in northern New Mexico.
right.
We've had enough to dirty up your car and make you have to
Right.
go get another car wash.
Yeah.
But,
Well, but even in Cloudcroft, they've been getting really good rains. I don't know if you've seen the videos. That's where my parents still live, and gosh, going down the mountain, going down 82 the other day, looked like a river, and I've lived there my whole life almost, and never saw that. Dad
well, that
said-
kind of helps because doesn't that go into the aquifer
yeah,
that
so it
feeds our
really
part?
helps a lot of aquifers around here is when they're getting water up there. So it's really good we're seeing that. But they were saying Alamo, it wasn't even raining in Florida Street. They had a video of just a flood coming down. They're like, here it all comes, and it's coming off those mountains. So the good news is those mountains are getting a lot of rain, and like you said, that really feeds into a lot of our aquifers. So that's, even though it's dry down here, it's good to see that there's water in the right spots to make sure that we stay in
Yeah.
good shape. So
Well, I know you've got a meeting you've got
Yes,
to get
I'm
to here in a
sorry.
few. Is there anything else that you want to share with the folks the commission worked on yesterday?
No, just glad to continue on what we're doing. Obviously, I'm sure you're going to mention it a million times, but we talked about it yesterday with school starting. So everybody pay attention out there. I mean, obviously you're going to start seeing the blinking lights, and kids are going to be moving around, families are going to be moving around. So pay attention to your speeds. Make sure you're abiding by that.
I'm sure you've heard this before. Is there anything the city can do to speed up the construction over there
I
at
wish.
20th
I wish
and Grand?
Byron is working really hard.
Because you
But,
just
yeah.
said school's starting.
I
you know.
know. It is. So, but at least it won't be there for very long during school.
Oh, I
And
know.
but then it'll
Move up.
mess up the next. Yeah. So
But that intersection's
it's
pretty
it's a tough
busy,
intersection.
and then you
yeah.
got people going through that little neighborhood and everything
Yeah,
over there,
yeah.
and kind of messing stuff up.
Yep. No, absolutely.
And then those crazy Texans go driving through there, and they don't care, you know.
They don't care now. They're just
crazy.
But we're sure glad someone said it yesterday. It was Texas everywhere. I said, good.
Oh yeah,
I'm so excited. Yeah, and they're like,
Just
well,
slow down, Texas.
Just slow down. But they're like, well, why do you say that's good? I said, because I was born and raised in Cloudcroft. If we don't have Texans and folks like that coming along, then
Yeah.
we're in a lot of trouble. So.
Oh no, we love the
yeah.
customers. Just
everyone slow down. Yeah.
Texans. Just slow down. So.
Well, it's because the speed limits down there are normal. You know, we were saying that the other day. My gosh, the second you cross the line, bam, you can go 80. Well, our road is just as straight, and you got to go to 65.
I know.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Are they quicker? Are they? I don't know. I think we're pretty good drivers, but maybe we're not. I don't know. So
Anyway, Mayor or Commissioner,
both. Yeah, we'll just deal
thank
with
you
it.
so much. Appreciate
thank
you
you. I
coming in,
appreciate it.
and we'll see you next week.
All right.
All right,
Sounds good.
thanks a lot.
Uh-huh.
Let's take a break.